talking about your beliefs or your cultural knowledge with the episteme, which is the real knowledge, they were supposed to combine to make something called phronesis, which is practical wisdom and a combination of your expert real world knowledge. I think in general, the reason I would consider myself to be credible in that sense is because I am a Black woman. And so a lot of times where we may have had educational psychology classes where we're reading about diversity in the classroom or why all the Black students would sit together, there were some things that it was like I didn't need to read the lesson to understand or kind of empathize with what the students may have been going through as far as not having accurate representation in their classrooms. Anything DEI related or in relation to child development when it comes to minorities, I would say not necessarily that I'm an expert, but that I have the ability to combine the wisdom that I have from seeing it in different low-income schools in Chicago versus a teacher that may be coming in not from that neighborhood, only having the textual knowledge that they learned from school. So the next question, let me find it, says, how do I react to topics or conversations when you lack the relevant knowledge to contribute? I think in general, most times I try to wait until I know something about it to speak on it. I noticed that in regards to a lot of politics or a lot of world policy, just because I'm quick to make sure I'm not misspeaking and I don't try to use one source as my only source of information. If I see something that kind of goes viral on TikTok or on my Instagram page, I typically like to check CNN, but that's just one of the ways I try to see if it's credible. And it says, how do you make judgments about the ideas being communicated? I think in regards to rhetoric, once again, a lot of times I'm able to distinguish what's fake news and what's not by the rhetoric of the article. I can tell when something is kind of framed in a more misogynistic way if it's discussing Kamala Harris versus if it's something that's actually critical of both parties. So I think in that regard, I can see how rhetoric would be more so of a manipulation factor, because interviews, articles that kind of take what they're saying, or even watching like the presidential debate and the vice presidential debate is something that will change the way you view them in their authentic selves. Then, any ideas about knowledge this week make me reconsider my own approach to public communication? I would say that authenticity is something that is now being more welcomed in the workplace, although I don't know if I could say that was the same attitude 10 years ago. I think before it was more so of a cookie cutter fitting in versus now they're encouraging you to be kind of yourself and not have to do things that may feel like you're masking part of your identity. Before, there were a lot of things put in place, even when it came to sports, like don't ask, don't tell, which was kind of saying don't disclose any part of your identity, just go and like show up, do what you're supposed to do. But I think we're kind of changing that idea. So I do think just because of the lessons that we learned, I will try to show up as a more authentic person, even like in videos like this. But yeah, overall, I do kind of agree with Socrates more about needing that real knowledge or a combination, because you can't really have one without the other. Like someone who knows all the formal rules of teaching doesn't mean that they're going to be a great teacher based off of it. And someone who has all the cultural context or understanding doesn't mean that they always have the real world knowledge to apply it.